Cassian Hall, founder of Tin Can Telephone, and I just wanted to have a little word today about the power of truth in communications. We recently revamped our website and we chose a quote for the front, which is that people do not buy goods and services, they buy relations, stories and magic. And that really chimed with our philosophy of communications. We all know that we're more likely to trust a product or a service if you're taking a car to a garage, if you know the guy who runs the garage, or if your friend says, I had a good experience with that garage. Those interrelationships are really fundamental. And stories, and that's the heart of what we do in Tin Can Telephone, are absolutely vital. They are the oil in the cogs of the machinery that bind us together as human beings. And I come from a storytelling background. I actually started out as an archaeologist, which for me is all about discovering human stories, and then went into writing, television production, filmmaking, editing, and we're making primetime TV shows. So I had firsthand an opportunity to study what you have to do to engage 7 million people on a Wednesday evening to watch your show for 90 minutes. And it's all about good storytelling. And what's exciting about applying that to communications is that everybody has fascinating stories. Every company, every charity, every organization that we work with, you always uncover fascinating stories. And that is what connects them ultimately with their audience. I mean, stories, we all buy into stories. Ever since man first invented fire and then sat around the campfire, they've been telling each other stories. It's what's held us together for thousands of years. I mean, before modern communications, before computers and tablets and smartphones and telephones, the role of the storyteller is vital. The storyteller would travel from village to village, town to town, and tell those stories that bound those people together, so that when they met strangers, what would then bind them together is a shared body of knowledge about certain stories. So they really are fundamental to how we relate to one another. And when we learn to tell a story well, we learn to engage the emotions of the listener to the story. And if you engage their emotions, then they start to care about the story that you're telling. And when you care about the story you're being told, then it's like a hypnotist having a hypnotized subject in front of them, ready to receive the message. That is the power of good storytelling. If we just put a step back a second and just look at how we seek to persuade people, we can go back 2,500 years to Plato. He talked about the power of rhetoric, which is the art of winning the soul by discourse, is what he said. Now, rhetoric is more of an intellectual exercise, the power of reason, something we might expect to see in a courtroom or perhaps on a political platform. It's not generally something that goes off into the realm of the emotions. It's about reason. And that's why Plato wanted all the storytellers thrown out of Athens, because he considered them irrational, because they dealt in the currency of emotions. There's another way to persuade people of your message, which is coercion. It's you better do this or buy this, or else something bad will happen. Those of us of a certain age will remember from the 1980s the HIV/AIDS adverts. Now, there was a classic example of persuasion by coercion. You better to listen to what we're telling you, or else you're going to die. That's the ultimate in coercion. Now, the opposite is also true. You can have persuasion by seduction. There are so many examples, but perhaps you'll remember the Diet Coke ads, the guy taking off his top and the women watching him drink a can of Diet Coke. And there's many the other way around as well. But sex sells. It's like, if you do this, if you buy this, you'll attract a beautiful mate. Or you'll get to be somewhere beautiful. You'll get to dine on fine foods. All the beautiful things of life. That's seduction, the art of seduction in persuasion. Now the beauty of story is it can include all of these things. Story is ultimately an idea wrapped in an emotion. So we have to consider then that in telling stories well, we have a lot of power and therefore a lot of responsibility, because storytelling in itself is not good or bad. It is just a tool. To be used well, it has to be understood and practiced and crafted, but it is still just a tool. And I think over the years, many great story writers, novelists, filmmakers have talked about what it is to tell a story. And there's a common theme that what you're essentially trying to do is uncover some truth about what it is to be human and to be alive. But we all know, from our experience, we know that storytelling can be used for just the opposite. It can be used to tell us a lie. And I'm sure that we've seen umpteen examples in communications, adverts, marketing, where we're being told something and we don't believe it. We think they're lying to us. So we've got to act responsibly as storytellers. There are plenty of companies out there that would like to hoodwink you, to sell you a narrative that will part you with your money. But the only beneficiary is them, not you. We can think of people like the Bell Pottinger PR company, who made a habit of taking large sums of money from discredited people, tyrants, President Assad in Syria, and agreeing to tell their lies for them. We didn't shed many tears when they finally went to the wall and they were found out. And I can certainly say that at Tin Can Telephone, we're not interested in telling lies. Because if you are a company with a product or a service that you know is making people's lives just a little bit better, then you're the kind of people we want to work with. And you've got no need for lies. In fact, the truth is very powerful. Behind that business, behind that service, behind that charity, it's driven by a set of values. That's why this entity has been born. And what we seek to do is to draw out those values, draw out those stories, and through those communications, tell the truth to your audience. And that will connect you with exactly the audience that you want. And you, in turn, will love and enjoy the relationship you then have with your audience. If your communications don't represent your values and your truths, you will connect with the wrong people. If you connect with anyone, you'll connect with the wrong people, and you won't enjoy the interaction that then occurs. And you'll end up thinking, why did I start this business? Why did I start this charity? But actually, it can be just a failure of communication. So we believe absolutely in the power of truth in communication. And sometimes it's not as high-blown as you think, the truth. It's just about drawing out your values, your stories, and telling them in the most exciting way that allows an audience to connect with you and realize what it is you have to offer. And if that sounds good to you, give us a call, see what we can do.